The vast chamber of the Galactic Council echoed with thousands of voices. 12 different species sat in a perfect circle, each representing a powerful civilization from across the stars. Towering crystal walls surrounded them, reflecting strange waves of alien light that danced across the room like living colors. This was the heart of the galaxy, the place where the fate of thousands of worlds was decided. Among the ancient and powerful races sat a species that was considered young, inexperienced, and insignificant. Humans. Ambassador Dejo sat quietly in the small section reserved for Earth. At 52 years old, the signs of countless battles fought with diplomacy were visible on his face. Silver touched his hair, and his tired eyes carried the weight of 40 years of trying to earn a place among the stars. Beside him sat Dr. Mai, a brilliant xenobiologist who had spent decades studying alien life and helping civilizations understand one another. Behind them stood Captain Hana, wearing the uniform of the Human Defense Fleet. Her expression was calm, almost emotionless, but her eyes revealed that she already knew what decision the Council was going to make. For 40 years, humanity had done everything right. They shared technology. They provided medical discoveries. They protected trade routes. They fought alongside alien armies. They asked for nothing except one thing: respect. But today, humanity would finally learn whether the galaxy truly considered them equals. At the center of the chamber stood High Arbiter Quellis, an ancient insect-like being with countless eyes that never blinked. His voice was cold and lifeless, like a machine delivering a final judgment. "We have reviewed the human request," Quellis announced. "You claim discrimination. You claim other species have blocked your trade routes, restricted your access to resources, and placed unfair limits on your civilization." Dejo slowly stood. He activated his data tablet, projecting thousands of records into the air. Denied trade permits, blocked shipments, higher taxes placed only on human merchants. Evidence of decades of unfair treatment. "That is correct," Dejo said. His voice remained calm. "We have obeyed every law. We have defended worlds that were not our own. We have shared our discoveries freely. Our medicine has saved millions of lives." He looked around the chamber. "We are not asking for special treatment." A pause. "We are asking for equal treatment." For a moment, silence filled the hall. Then came laughter. A deep, cruel laugh. Vexar, the ancient reptilian representative, leaned forward. His dark green scales reflected the crystal lights as his sharp teeth appeared in a mocking smile. "Equal?" His voice carried disgust. "You have existed among us for only 40 years. He spread his claws. "My species has served this council for 3,000 years. You are children, newborns among civilizations that existed before your ancestors. Look toward the stars." Several council members nodded. A floating jellyfish-like creature released approving sounds. A winged alien turned away, refusing to even look at the humans. Only one representative remained silent. Counselor Lissa. She slowly raised her hand. Her golden eyes focused on Dejo. "Perhaps we should reconsider." The entire chamber looked at her. "The humans have contributed greatly. Their fusion reactors power 17 major stations. Their medical advancements have saved entire populations." She paused. Perhaps fairness should not require centuries of waiting. Vexar turned toward her, anger burning in his eyes. "You would reward their impatience?" He pointed toward Dejo. "They are predators, violent creatures who barely escape their own world. They should be grateful we even allow them to stand among us." Those words struck deeper than any weapon. Dejo had heard insults before. For 40 years, humanity had smiled. For 40 years, they had remained patient. For 40 years, they believed kindness would eventually earn respect. But something inside him finally changed. Not anger. Something colder. Acceptance. High Arbiter Quellis lifted his hand. "It is time for the vote." His voice echoed through the chamber. "All in favor of granting humanity equal trade access and resource rights." Only one hand rose. "Lissa." The silence that followed was unbearable. Then 11 others responded. Hands, claws, tentacles, wings, all rejecting humanity. "The petition is denied," Quellis announced. "We may discuss this matter again in another century." Another century. The words hung in the air. The council members began leaving immediately. To them, it was finished. Just another young species being reminded of its place. But Dejo remained standing. His voice cut through the chamber. Sharp, clear, final. Then humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council. The entire room froze. Vexar turned back, laughing. "You cannot be serious. Where will you go? You need us." Dejo looked at him. And for the first time, there was no respect in his eyes. Only disappointment. "We asked for partnership. You gave us control. We asked for fairness. You gave us humiliation." He stepped forward. "Humanity will no longer participate in a system that sees us as servants waiting for permission to exist." He turned toward Captain Hana. A single nod. She touched her wrist device. Across the galaxy, every human commander received the same message. Recall all personnel. Terminate all joint operations. Return home. The chamber watched as the humans collected their belongings. Dr. Mi gathered the evidence. Captain Hana followed. Dejo walked toward the exit. "You will regret this decision," Quellis called. Dejo stopped, but he did not turn around. "No." A quiet answer. "You will." The doors closed. Humanity was gone, and the Galactic Council had no idea what it had just lost. 3 months later, the galaxy began to understand the price of its arrogance. Admiral Taung stood aboard his warship, watching the final human transport leave the defense station. A station built by 5 civilizations, but powered by one: humanity. "All personnel evacuated, Admiral," his officer reported. Taung looked at the station one last time. Without human fusion cores, the lights were already fading. Set course for the next evacuation point. The warship turned away, leaving behind a station that was once a symbol of unity. Now it was just an empty shell. And across the galaxy, the same thing was happening everywhere. Human technology was being removed. Human ships were leaving. Human protection was disappearing. The galaxy had taken humanity for granted. Now it was learning what humanity had truly been providing. The neighbor asked. "I do not know," Suan said honestly, "but you should ask your leaders that question. Ask them why they valued their pride more than cooperation." She boarded the transport. The engines roared to life. The ship lifted into the sky, taking the last humans away from the colony. Below, the aliens watched them go, slowly beginning to realize that something important had been lost. The final human diplomatic ship prepared to leave the Council world. Suyan, now reassigned to the Diplomatic Corps, sent one last broadcast to the galaxy. "This is Administrator Suyan Han, speaking for humanity, one final time. For 40 years, we offered friendship. We shared our technology, defended your worlds, healed your sick, and asked only for fair treatment in return. You chose to see us as lesser beings. You chose pride over partnership. We will remember what was offered and what was refused. Humanity withdraws. Do not contact us again unless you are prepared to offer the respect we deserve." The message ended. Human communications went silent across the galaxy. No more trade requests, no more military coordination, no more medical consultations. The humans were gone, and in the Galactic Council chambers, the members congratulated themselves on finally putting the arrogant young species in their place. They did not yet understand that they had made a terrible mistake. 6 months had passed. Counselor Lissa stood at her window, looking out at the city below. She could see the signs everywhere. The streets were darker at night because power was being rationed. The spaceport had half as many ships as before. The markets were empty of goods that used to flow freely through human-protected trade routes. Her assistant entered with a datapad. "Counselor, the latest reports." Lisa took the device and read through the numbers. Each one was worse than the last. Medical deaths up by 40%, trade down by 30%, pirate attacks up by 60%, energy shortages on 15 major worlds. "We must call an emergency session," she said. "The Council needs to see these numbers." 2 hours later, the council gathered. Lisa presented her findings. She showed graphs and statistics. She played recordings of distress calls from merchant ships that had been attacked. She showed images of hospitals overflowing with sick patients who had no cure for their diseases. The human withdrawal has created a crisis, Lisa said firmly. We did not realize how much we depended on their technology, their medicine, their military protection. Vexar waved his clawed hand dismissively. Temporary problems. We managed for thousands of years before the humans arrived. We will manage again, will we? Lisa challenged. Our fusion reactors are failing. We do not have the knowledge to fix them. Our doctors cannot cure the plague that is spreading through the Talus system. Human medicine could stop it in days. Without it, millions will die. Then we develop our own solutions. Another counselor said. That will take years. Lisa said. People are dying now. Economies are collapsing now. High Arbiter Quellis spoke in his cold, dry voice. What do you suggest, counselor? Lisa, that we beg the humans to return. I suggest we acknowledge our mistake, Lisa said. We treated them unfairly. We insulted them. We took their contributions for granted. Now we are paying the price. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Pride was a powerful force among the old species. To admit they were wrong, especially to such a young species, was unthinkable. The meeting ended with no decision. The counselors returned to their worlds, still convinced the problems would solve themselves. On the frontier worlds, things were much worse. General V stood in his command center, watching the defensive shields flicker and fade. His station was running on 40% power. The weapon systems were offline half the time. And worst of all, raiders had noticed. Sir, we are detecting 15 hostile ships approaching, his officer reported. They are ignoring our warnings. Fax knew why. The pirates had learned that the frontier defenses were weak now. They had learned that human warships no longer patrolled these sectors. They were testing the defenses, seeing how much they could get away with. Send a distress signal to any nearby human vessels, Vax ordered. The communication officer sent the message. A response came back within minutes. It was automated, cold, and final. Humanity is no longer involved in galactic defense operations. Please contact your local security forces. Vax stared at the screen. He was the local security force, and he was about to lose this battle. The pirates attacked with shields at low power and weapons malfunctioning. Vax could barely defend the station. 3 civilian colonies in the sector fell that week. The population was taken as slaves or killed. No help came. Trademaster Quellen sat in his office reviewing financial reports. He was a merchant who had traded across the galaxy for 200 years. He had always made good profits. But these last 6 months had been a disaster. His ships were being attacked constantly. Insurance costs had tripled. Many trade routes were simply too dangerous to use anymore. And the goods that did get through cost much more because of the extra security needed. His business was dying, and he knew why. The human military escorts that once made trade safe were gone. The human merchants who competed with him were gone too. But that did not help. Without safe routes, nobody could trade successfully. He thought about sending a message to the humans, asking them to reconsider. But he remembered how the council had treated them. He remembered Vexar's mocking laughter. He knew the humans would not listen to individual requests. The problems continued to grow. On the Talus system, the plague spread unchecked. Millions were sick. Thousands died each day. The alien doctors tried everything they knew, but nothing worked as well as human medicine had. On industrial worlds, factories shut down because the power generators kept failing. The aliens tried to repair them, but human fusion technology was complex. They made things worse. On farming planets, crops rotted in the fields because there were no ships to transport them. The human-protected trade routes had made food distribution efficient. Now, planets with too much food watched it spoil, while other planets starved. Counselor Lisa gathered all the data. She prepared another presentation for the council. This time she included video messages from dying patients, from terrified colonists, from merchants whose livelihoods had been destroyed. She stood before the council again. We cannot ignore this any longer. The humans were not just another member species. They were the foundation of our modern galaxy, and we threw them away because of pride. Some counselors looked uncomfortable now. The numbers were too big to dismiss. The deaths were too many to ignore. But still, they did nothing. To act would be to admit they were wrong. And that was something their pride would not allow. Not yet. 1 year had passed since humanity walked away. The galaxy was falling apart. High Arbiter Quellis could no longer deny the truth. His own world was experiencing power blackouts. His people were hungry because trade ships no longer arrived. And yesterday, he received news that his grandson had died from a disease that human medicine could have cured easily. The emergency council meeting was different from the others. The counselors looked tired and worried. Even Vexar seemed less arrogant than before. His home world was in chaos. Riots had broken out when the power grid failed completely. Quellis stood at the center of the chamber. We must face reality. 4 sectors have experienced complete economic collapse. 12 worlds are reporting mass starvation. The plague in the Talus system has killed 8 million people. Pirate attacks have increased by 60%. We need the humans. The words were bitter in his mouth, but they were true. Then we send a delegation, Vexar said. His voice had lost its mocking tone. We apologize. We offer them better terms. Will they listen? Another counselor asked. Lisa shook her head. I do not know. We insulted them deeply. We treated them as inferiors. We only want them back now because we are suffering. That is not the foundation for real partnership. We have no choice. Quellis said, prepare a delegation. We will go to human space and request their help. The delegation was assembled quickly. 5 senior counselors, including Vexar, traveled to the edge of human territory. They sent a message requesting permission to enter. Then they waited. Hours passed. Finally, a response came. They were given coordinates for a meeting point, just inside human space. When they arrived, a single human ship was waiting for them. Ambassador Jiwan stepped out of the airlock. She was younger than Dijo had been, perhaps 40 years old. Her eyes were cold and her expression showed no warmth. She did not smile. She did not offer the traditional gestures of greeting. You wanted to speak, Jijuan said simply. I am listening. Quellis stepped forward. For the first time in his very long life, he felt small. Ambassador, we come to acknowledge our mistakes. We treated humanity unfairly. We were wrong to dismiss your contributions. We were wrong to deny your petition for equal treatment. Jiwan's expression did not change. Continue. Vexar spoke next, his voice humble for the first time anyone could remember. Our worlds are suffering. We need medical assistance. We need help with our power systems. We need security for our trade routes. We are asking for your help. You are asking for help. Chiwan repeated slowly. Not offering partnership, not proposing equal cooperation. Asking for help because you are desperate. The counselors looked at each other uncomfortably. We would be willing to offer better terms than before. Quellis said, equal representation on the council, fair trade agreements, whatever you need, whatever we need. G1 said, what we needed was respect. We offered that respect to you freely. We asked for it in return. You laughed at us. You called us primitive. You told us to wait centuries before expecting fair treatment. We were wrong, Vexar admitted, his voice breaking slightly. Please, my world is dying. Millions have already perished. Jijun looked at him for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was not cruel, but it was absolutely firm. Ambassador Dejo tried to prevent this. He warned you. He showed you evidence of unfair treatment and asked for simple fairness. You voted 11-1 against even hearing our case. You dismissed us. You mocked us. And now, when you are suffering the consequences of your choices, you come asking for help. She paused, letting the words sink in. Humanity is not interested in being called upon only when we are needed. We are not tools to be used when convenient and dismissed when not. The time for negotiation was a year ago. You chose to end that opportunity. Now you must live with that choice. But innocent people are dying, Lissa said quietly. Children, elderly, people who had nothing to do with the council's decisions. Yes, Jiwan agreed. They are. That is tragic. And it is the responsibility of your leaders who made these choices, not ours. So, humanity will do nothing? Quellis asked, his voice hollow. Humanity will focus on humanity, Jiwan said. Our worlds are prospering. Our people are healthy. Our economy is strong. We have built what you refuse to let us build within the galactic community. We have no interest in returning to a system that does not value us. BXR's legs seemed to give out. He sat down heavily, his face showing despair. Please, he whispered, I beg you. G looked at the proud counselor. now broken and begging. She felt no satisfaction in seeing him this way, but she also felt no obligation to save him from the consequences of his own arrogance. "This meeting is over," she said. "Return to your worlds. Tell your people that the galaxy chose this path. Humanity did not abandon you. You abandoned humanity first. The difference is that you needed us more than we needed you. You simply refused to see it until it was too late." She turned and walked back to her ship. The airlock closed behind her. The human vessel powered up its engines and departed, leaving the counselors floating in space alone with their failure. On the journey back, none of the counselors spoke. They had come hoping for mercy. They had received justice instead, and justice, they were learning, was much harsher than mercy would have been. The galaxy would have to save itself, or learn to live with the consequences of its pride. 18 months had passed since humanity withdrew. President Yuna sat in her office on the human capital world, reviewing reports from across human space. Every number told the same story. Humanity was thriving. New colonies were being established on worlds that had previously been claimed by galactic species. With no one to stop them, humans expanded freely. Trade between human worlds had increased by 200%. The military had grown stronger, with new ships being built every month. Technology advanced rapidly, now that human scientists focused only on human needs. Admiral Ta-Ung entered the office. His uniform was crisp, his bearing confident. "President, the new defense fleet is ready. We now have complete security across all human territories." "Excellent," Uni said. "And the economy growing faster than projected without having to subsidize galactic infrastructure. We have invested heavily in our own development. Our people are healthier, wealthier, and safer than they have ever been." Yuna nodded. It was strange how well things had gone. For 40 years, humans had struggled within the galactic system, always fighting for recognition, always being held back. Now on their own, they flourished. "What news from the galaxy?" she asked. Admiral Tum pulled up a holographic display. It showed a map of galactic space. Large sections were marked in red. Complete economic collapse in these regions. Political instability spreading. Several species are on the brink of extinction because of the medical crisis. The Galactic Council itself is fragmenting. Member species are blaming each other for the disaster, and they still have not tried to contact us again. Yuna asked, not officially. "We intercept occasional messages, but nothing formal. Their pride still prevents them from genuine reconciliation." Dr. Mimji entered next. She had been promoted to Chief Diplomatic Advisor. "President, we have received something different this time. A petition from the Reformed Galactic Council." "Reformed?" Huna asked with interest. Councillor Lisa led a movement to remove the old leadership. BXR and several others have been voted out. The new council acknowledges full responsibility for the crisis. They are not asking for humanity to return to the galactic community. Then what are they asking? Mai displayed the message. Yuna read it carefully. The tone was completely different from before. There was no demand, no expectation, just a humble request for humanitarian aid. "They acknowledge they do not deserve our help," Minji explained. "They simply ask that we consider providing medical aid to the plague worlds. Food shipments to starving colonies. They promise to expect nothing in return. No political demands, no request for us to rejoin their system." Yuna sat back in her chair. This was the moment she had been preparing for. She looked at her advisors. "What do you recommend?" Admiral Tesung spoke first. "We should maintain complete isolation. The galaxy made its choice. They insulted us, dismissed us, and only want us back because they are suffering. Helping them now rewards their bad behavior." Ambassador Jiwon, who had joined them by video link, gave a different view. "I agree with measured caution, but not complete isolation. We could provide limited humanitarian aid without political re-engagement. Help the innocent, while making it clear we will not rejoin their system." Dr. Moonji added her perspective. "The plague is killing millions. Many of those dying are children who had nothing to do with the Council's decisions. We have the medicine to save them. The question is not whether they deserve our help. The question is what kind of civilization we want to be." Yuna listened to each viewpoint. She understood all of them. The anger was justified. The caution was wise. The compassion was human. Finally, she made her decision. "We will provide selective humanitarian aid." He announced medical shipments to plague worlds, food to starving colonies, but nothing more. No military support, no technology sharing. no political engagement. And we do this on our terms, with our own people controlling distribution. The galaxy will receive no say in how or when we help. And if they ask for more, Admiral Tuskong asked, then we remind them that they are receiving charity, not partnership. We help because we choose to, not because they deserve it. And if they want true cooperation in the future, they will need to demonstrate real change, not just words, not just temporary humility born from desperation, real lasting change in how they view and treat other species. Yuna stood and looked at the map of galactic space. So much suffering, so much pride that had led to disaster. Prepare the aid missions, she ordered, and prepare a message for the Galactic Council. Let them know that humanity remembers both their insults and their suffering. We will help because mercy is a human value. But trust must be earned, and that will take much more than words. The first human medical ships entered galactic space a week later. They went directly to the plague worlds, ignoring all council authority. Human doctors set up treatment centers and began saving lives. They worked efficiently and professionally. They asked for nothing in return. On the Talus system, Dr. Hyen Su returned with a full medical team. The same alien doctor who had begged him not to leave 18 months ago met him at the hospital. You came back, she said, tears in her fore. Thank you, thank you. Hyunu nodded. We came to help the sick, not to rejoin your system. Make sure your leaders understand the difference. Within days, the plague was being controlled. Human medicine worked as effectively as it always had. Lives were saved by the thousands. Food shipments arrived at starving colonies. Power technicians helped stabilize critical systems, though they refused to fully repair the fusion reactors. That, they explained, would require a different kind of relationship. The galaxy was grateful, but they were also learning a hard lesson. Humanity had the power now. Humanity had the choice, and humanity would not be taken for granted again. The balance of power had shifted, and it would never shift back. 2 years had passed since humanity walked away. 6 months had passed since the humanitarian missions began. The galaxy was no longer collapsing, but it was forever changed. And now the question everyone asked was whether humanity would ever truly return. Ambassador Josho had retired after the withdrawal, choosing to spend time with his family. But President Yuna had called him back for one final mission. He stood now at the edge of the council chamber, waiting to be announced. The chamber looked different. High Arbiter Lissa sat at the center now, her golden eyes watchful and intelligent. Fexstar was gone, removed from power by his own people after his world nearly collapsed. The other counselors who had mocked humanity were gone too. New faces sat in their places, younger members who had seen the consequences of arrogance. The council recognizes Ambassador Dehijo of humanity, Lisa announced. Dehijo walked to the center. He remembered standing here 2 years ago being dismissed and insulted. Today felt very different. Ambassador, humanity has provided assistance to our worlds for 6 months. You have saved millions of lives. You have asked for nothing in return. On behalf of the reformed Galactic Council, I express our deepest gratitude. Dejo nodded politely. Humanity helps because mercy is our value, not because we seek your approval. Lysa accepted the words without offense. I understand. However, the Council wishes to discuss the possibility of formal relations being restored. We have prepared terms that we believe address the concerns humanity raised 2 years ago. She displayed a document on the holographic projector. Dejo read through it carefully. Equal representation on the Council, finding trade agreements with no discrimination, access to resources based on need and contribution, not seniority, formal protections against species-based prejudice. It was everything humanity had asked for 2 years ago, everything they had been denied. These terms are acceptable in principle, Dejo said. However, humanity requires additional conditions. What conditions? Lisa asked. First, a formal apology inscribed in galactic records. Not a private statement, but a public acknowledgement that the Council was wrong to dismiss humanity's petition and wrong to treat us as inferiors. Several counselors shifted uncomfortably to publicly admit error would be humiliating. Second, Dejo continued, reparations for the economic damages humanity suffered during years of unfair trade practices. We calculate this at approximately 2 trillion credits. A counselor from a wealthy species spoke up. That is a substantial sum. Yes, Dejo agreed. It is. It is also substantially less than the galaxy has already lost due to economic collapse. Consider it an investment in better relations. Third, all agreements must be enforceable with real consequences for violation. No more empty promises that can be ignored when convenient. And fourth, Dejo said, his voice growing harder, humanity will observe a trial period of 5 years. During this time, we will participate in limited council activities. We will monitor how the galaxy treats not just us, but all younger species. If we see the old patterns returning, if we see arrogance and dismissiveness returning, we will withdraw again, and next time, we will not come back. The chamber fell silent. These were harsh terms, but everyone present knew they were fair. Lisa looked at the other counselors. One by one, they nodded. They had learned the lesson. Pride was expensive, arrogance was deadly, and respect could not be demanded, only earned. The council accepts these terms, Lisa announced. We will draft the formal apology for Galactic Record. Reparations will be arranged. The binding agreements will be enacted, and humanity will be welcomed back as true equals, subject to the trial period you have specified. She stood and walked to where Dejo waited. She extended her wing in the traditional gesture of her people, a sign of deep respect. Ambassador Dejo, I voted for your petition 2 years ago. I was the only one. I have regretted my people's choices every day since. I cannot undo what was done. But I promise you, as High Arbiter, that the galaxy will not repeat these mistakes. Dejo looked at her for a long moment. He saw sincerity in her eyes. He also saw the weight of responsibility she carried. High Arbiter Lisa, you stood alone when it mattered. That is not forgotten. Humanity will return to the Council, but we return as partners, not supplicants. We return with eyes open, watching carefully. Trust is not given freely anymore. It must be earned with every decision, every vote, every interaction. I understand, Lisa said, and I accept those terms. The formal vote was taken. The new agreements were approved unanimously. The apology was drafted and sealed into Galactic Record, where it would stand for all time as a reminder of what pride had cost. As Dejo left the chamber, he sent a message to President Yuna. The Council has agreed to our terms. Humanity will return, but we will never forget what it took to earn respect. Dr. Mimji met him outside. Do you think they have truly changed? She asked. Dejo considered the question. Some have not. But the ones in power now understand what is at stake. They saw their worlds burning. They watched their people die. They felt helpless and desperate. That is a teacher more effective than any words. And if they forget, then we remind them, Dejo said quietly, that humanity knows how to walk away. And next time, we might not come back. The galaxy had paid the price for its arrogance. Now it would have the chance to build something better, but only if it remembered the lessons learned in fire and darkness. 5 years had passed since humanity returned to the Galactic Council. The trial period was almost over. Ambassador Mi stood in her office, now chief diplomat for humanity, reviewing the assessment that would determine whether humans remained part of the galactic community. The galaxy had changed. Trade flowed freely again, but now it was regulated by strict fairness standards. Medical cooperation was strong, with human techniques being taught to alien doctors. Defense stations operated efficiently with human fusion technology that was now properly maintained. Most importantly, younger species were treated with respect. The old system of making new members wait centuries for fair treatment was gone. Now contribution mattered more than age. But had it changed enough? That was what MG needed to determine. Her door chimed. Captain Hana entered, now promoted to Admiral and Commander of the Joint Defense Fleet. She had worked closely with alien military forces for 5 years, training them, coordinating with them. Ambassador, I have completed my assessment of military cooperation, Hana said, placing a datapad on the desk. The alien species have been reliable partners. They follow protocols. They respect our command structure when we lead operations. I recommend continued military cooperation. Mai nodded and made a note. Any concerns? Some older officers still show resistance to taking orders from younger species, but it is getting better. The younger generation does not have the same prejudices. Later that day, High Arbiter Lissa requested a private meeting. They met in a quiet garden away from the formal chambers. Ambassador Minji, I know the trial period ends soon. I know humanity will make a decision about your continued participation. Before you decide, I want to show you something. Lisa brought up images on a portable display. They showed young aliens from various species working together. This is the new generation. They are learning cooperation from the start. They study human history, including what happened 7 years ago. They learn it as a cautionary tale about the cost of arrogance. That is good, Mi said. But education alone is not enough. What matters is whether the system itself has changed. It has, Lisa assured her. The laws are different now. The protections are in place. But more than that, people remember. They remember the darkness when humans left. They remember watching their loved ones die, because pride was more important than cooperation. That memory keeps us honest. We met with the council formally 1 week later. The chamber was full. A young counselor named Tai Min sat in the human delegation section. He was only 30 years old, representing the new generation of human diplomats who had grown up during the withdrawal and return. The trial period has concluded. Mai announced, humanity has evaluated the progress made by the Galactic Council over the past 5 years. We have assessed trade practices, diplomatic relations, military cooperation, and treatment of younger species. The chamber was completely silent. Everyone knew what was at stake. We find that significant progress has been made, Minji continued. The systems that allow discrimination have been dismantled. Protections for all species are in place and being enforced. More importantly, we have seen genuine change in attitudes, particularly among younger members of the galactic community. She paused, letting the tension build. Therefore, humanity has decided to continue our participation in the Galactic Council, not as supplicants, not as junior members waiting for acceptance, but as equal partners. Relief swept through the chamber. Several counselors visibly relaxed. Lisa smiled, her golden eyes bright with emotion. But Counselor Tam stood up. He was young, but his voice carried authority. The galaxy has learned an important lesson, Tam said. But humanity wants to ensure this lesson is never forgotten. So let me be clear about one thing. We walked away once. We can do it again. The room went quiet again. If the old patterns return, if arrogance replaces cooperation, if any species is treated as inferior simply because they are young, humanity will notice, and we will act. We no longer need the galaxy. We proved that during our time apart. The galaxy needs us more than we need the galaxy. That is not a threat. It is simply the truth. We understand, Counselor, Lisa said firmly, and we accept that responsibility. The galaxy paid a terrible price for its mistakes. We will not pay that price again. That night, alarms suddenly blared across the galaxy. Unknown ships had appeared at the frontier. They were massive, unlike anything anyone had seen before. They ignored all communication attempts, and they were heading toward populated systems. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Admiral Hanna brought tactical displays showing the approaching threat. Extragalactic invaders. They are well-armed and moving fast. We need to respond immediately. High Arbiter Lysa looked to the human delegation. Will humanity stand with us? Ambassador Miji stood without hesitation. We will. Not because you demand it. Not because you expect it. But because we choose to defend what we have built together. This galaxy is our home too now, and we protect our home. The combined fleet assembled faster than ever before. Human ships took positions alongside alien vessels. Admiral Hanna coordinated the defense from her flagship, with alien commanders following her strategies without question. The battle was fierce. The invaders were powerful, but the galaxy fought together as true partners. Human technology and alien courage combined into something greater than either alone. When the invaders retreated, having learned that this galaxy was defended by united species, celebrations erupted across every world. In the council chamber, Counselor Taman addressed the assembly one final time. Today, we won because we fought as equals, because we trusted each other, because we remembered what cooperation truly means. 7 years ago, this galaxy almost destroyed itself through pride. Today, it saved itself through unity. He paused, looking at each counselor in turn. Humanity walked away once to teach the galaxy a lesson. We returned because you learned it. Remember this moment. Remember what you almost lost. Remember what you gained by choosing respect over arrogance. High Arbiter Lisa nodded slowly. We will remember, Counselor. The galaxy paid the price, and we will never forget what that price was. The chamber fell silent in agreement. The galaxy had learned, and humanity had taught them well, not through words, but through action. Not through violence, but through the simple power of walking away when not respected. And then when respect was earned through the grace of choosing to return, that was the true strength of humanity, knowing when to leave and knowing when to stay.